Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. This is the Tuesday night late edition with Chris and Drew. They are keeping the seats warm for Jerry Ostrowski, who should be here next week. But Chris, it's good to see you. It's like I saw you last night, I think.
I know. It's anytime I can come on, I'm always excited about it.
But like Drew, I saw you on Sunday.
Sunday morning.
This is becoming a regular occurrence. We're here to talk about small school players that are in the NFL draft. And these schools and players are so small that Drew and Chris didn't even tell me who the players were before the podcast. So I just have a front row seat to whichever players they're going to choose to discuss. Chris, is there a direction you want to go from the beginning?
So, let's start off with, I'd say, the highest probably profile player in terms of draft people and draft guys. And that's going to be running back Robert Henry Jr., University of Texas San Antonio. He was on the Doak Walker Award list, for best running back. And you talk to scouts, and he is a pure running back. He's creative, decisive, powerful runner. He's tough to tackle, even though he's 5'9", 205 pounds. There's been times you've seen him go for long touchdown runs. I mean, I'm looking here at some of his tape of the games, and early in the season, he had touchdown runs of 75 yards against Texas State, 76 yards against Colorado State, 74 yards against Incarnate Word, and he is a fun back. He runs hard. He loves trucking over people. He's a capable receiver out of the backfield. He can catch the ball. It's not like he's just a pure running back. It's the biggest problem is just you're worried about the strength because you look at it's always going to be a challenge when you're scouting small players. Like, okay, great, you're doing well against Temple and Rice and Texas State. How do you do against SEC competition, let alone NFL competition? It's always a challenge when both me and Drew were scouting this. Like, okay, what would happen if we put him in against elite athletes? What would we do? How would they shine? Would they fall? With Henry also, he's not a blocker, so he's going to need to improve on that, especially in the NFL. If you are a running back in the NFL and you cannot pass block, a lot of teams will pass on you because we can't use you on third downs. But I have him pretty high. I have him right now as anywhere between a third and a fourth round grade, just because you look and it's like he is that home run threat. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And while he's a short running back, he's powerful. So this is a guy who you don't have to worry about like getting knocked over by a gentle breeze. He can handle his own.
To go along with that, one of your main points was you were wondering how he'd stack up against the SEC, that NFL competition. And he was tested week 1. Robert Henry went up against Texas A&M, and he met the challenge. 16 attempts, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns against what's now, I believe, the 4th-ranked team in the country. So he's passed the eye test early. And just some stats, because I got him pulled up. He has 93 attempts, 736 yards on the season. So he has a great start. His first 4 or 5 weeks, he was on an absolute heater. 177, 159, 144, 146 yards in back-to-back-to-back weeks. These past couple weeks have been a little bit more down for him. His carries have gone down. He's got 42 yards against Temple, 68 yards against Rice. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how he can bounce back. But with the points he said, he's a pure runner. He's gonna be a great player.
Yeah, he was actually identified, I don't want to say early on, but we'll just say once the season started, we build like a list of top 40 running backs because those are the 40 running backs we break down on Thursdays. He made the cut. I believe he's covered on the last episode, right? And generally when we do that, the last episode is typically the players we think that will grade the highest, or we're more confident in their grades than the players that we cover earlier. So Robert Henry from UTSA, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
UCSA.
So definitely on the radar. Drew, do you have another small school prospect that you're keeping your eye on?
These prospects, especially the draft passer, and if you're following the draft, which if you're watching this, you are. And one of the biggest points of contention I've heard is with North Dakota State quarterback Cole Payton. You're going to find people who will die on his hill, first round prospects, and then you're going to find other people who I think Chris is going to be able to chime in on this a lot, but a lot lower on him, like 6th, 7th round. But the production, a lot of people get scared off because they see Trey Lance, they see Carson Wentz, even though he had a couple of great years, and they're kind of instantly turned off by the prospect of a North Dakota State quarterback. But he meets the eye test immediately. On a true double threat quarterback, 6'3", 233 pounds. Through the air this year, he's got 78 completions, 1,416 yards, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And then he's added another 439 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. He's got the size, he's got the strength, he's got a great arm. And so far, he's been making great decisions, which is exactly what you want to see. North Dakota State's a perennial powerhouse, and it's looking like he's going to lead them somewhere great once again. And we'll go back to him, but one of the main reasons is because he's got another major weapon. Bryce Lance. I mentioned Trey Lance. His brother is a 6'3", 209 receiver from North Dakota State. And he's also had a great start to the year. A lot of people are really high on him. I believe Anthony Russo is a diehard Bryce Lance guy right now. So he's getting a lot of hype, and 22 receptions, 461 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's another one who's having a great start to the year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see his name talked about more and more as we get closer to April.
So, Chris, where are you? We'll start on Cole Payton, and then we'll raise it up to Bryce Lance. But where are you on Cole Payton right now?
I feel bad because the draft professors chat. They are on this hill. They have adopted him like their favorite son. They want to invite him over to Christmas dinner, have him sit on the table. And I just look and I go, they face Citadel, Tennessee State, Southeast Missouri State, South Dakota, Illinois State, Southern Illinois. Forget about the SEC. This isn't even – they're taking on teams from like the Mountain West or Conference USA. I mean, this one's going to scare scouts. This is his first year starting as a quarterback, and he's a senior. So right off you're going, okay, well, is he a man among boys? Is he playing bad competition? It's North Dakota State, and they are the perennial powerhouse. Like a bad year for North Dakota State is like last year where, we finished 14-2, 7-1 in the conference, and we still went and won the Division I AA national championship. I mean, that's what I think I worry about. Like I've seen, and when I watch the tape, a lot of the time he's not even pressured. That offensive line gives him all the time in the world, and there's times when he decides to run. He's this great athlete who still is learning how to play quarterback, and that's fine. This is his senior year. He didn't start, junior, sophomore, freshman year, but it's just too unknown. I mean, you look and it's like, okay, what happens when teams get tape on him? What happens when he has to face good competition? Is he going to be Carson Wentz, or is this Trey Lance all over again? And, some GM who drafts him high is going to go, oh, crap, I lost my job because my owner's looking at me going, oh, my God, you are an idiot.
So, okay, so I'm going to pull out like a Donald Rumsfeld quote from like the first Gulf War. And Drew, this is probably even before you were born. Knowing that you're a freshman in college and knowing I'm a lot older than you, but he said, the absence of intelligence is not intelligence within itself. So just because you don't know something doesn't mean that it's evidence that you don't know anything. It's kind of the theme. So if we're talking about, so I'm going to take this on Chris, this is my rebuttal, let's say, to your stance, right? So from a film standpoint, you have to evaluate what you know, and you can't you can't slight them for what you don't know, but you evaluate them for what you know. So if you like the arm strength and like Drew, like, you like the size, those are things that you know, and you see him make specific throws. So you know he can do that, which to me then means the grade is draftable. Now, then the question is, at what point do you value that? Now, I think the biggest issue would be what teams are going to draft like a quarterback that's going to start really soon, right? So, like, if we're talking about and I was about to throw Indianapolis out, but maybe Daniel Jones will resurrect himself. But like, I was trying to think of a team that desperately needs a starting. Okay, the Jets. There we go. It just took me a minute. So if we're talking about a team like the Jets, or I might even put the Saints in there. Sorry, Drew.
Spencer Rattler's looking good.
Right? Where they need an immediate starter. Maybe that's not the right recipe. But if it's a team, let's say like the Dolphins. So the Dolphins, in my opinion, they have a flawed quarterback situation because Tua can't make all the throws. So you can only run a certain type of offense with Tua. So that's why I said, like, it's a flawed situation. But Tua can run that team. So going to a team like Miami as a backup would make sense. Okay, and you see Ryan Sparks. You see, you and me are thinking alike. So I personally think Sawyer Robertson's going to the Rams, Ryan, but Cole Payton to the Rams would make an equal amount of sense because as long as Matthew Stafford is there, he doesn't need to play year one. And then that brings me to my next draft, and this isn't a hot take. This is just a draft philosophy. The jump from year one to year two is more important than whatever the player does as a rookie. No matter how good they are as a rookie, I want to see a jump in year two. And if there is no jump in year two, you begin to scratch your head. The coach might be worried about his job security. But that's kind of my take there. Chris, where are you on wide receiver Bryce Lane?
Well, it's similar to I'm glad you quote Donald Rumsfeld. I feel now a little more educated. I'm going to go with more of a low class and family guy where when Peter Griffin has a choice between the boat and the box, he goes, yeah, it's a boat. This box could be anything. We need to take the box. That's how you feel with even Lance. I mean, I look and it's like, yeah, he has the size and skill. He's 6'2", 205. He has long arms, strong hands. He's a fluid mover. He is a natural catcher. He had a breakout year last year with 75 catches, 1,153 yards, 17 touchdowns. But again, it's okay. You're not sure about if he has top line speed because he's just so much bigger and stronger than everybody he's facing. You look and you go, well, he could probably add more mass. Is that going to be an issue? And I'm not sure about the route running. I mean, he's basically a man among boys. So again, I'm not a smart guy here like you guys. I can't quote Donald Rumsfeld. Once again, it's as Family Guy said, yeah, it's a boat. This could be a box. And we have no idea, so let's take the box. That's why you feel like with Bryce Lance and with even Cole Payton, it's just we don't know. We're looking at tape, but we have to consider okay, what happens when they're not the biggest, strongest, fastest guys on the field, when they are taking on, legit, SEC athletes, ACC, Big Ten, who these guys, are bigger, stronger. They can match stride for stride. So I'm going to throw to Drew because Drew's probably looking at me going, oh, my God, you're a small school hater. You a-hole.
Well, I do think that there are certain positions where small school players translate better. I would think running back and corner are at the top of the list because a running back is going to be doing – there's a reason that rookie running backs do so well in the NFL, right? When you're a running back at any level, a lot of what you're doing is the same every level you go to. The only difference is the people that you're playing against might be a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, but the actual techniques you're using are similar. And with corners, it's actually moderately similar. So I think those are the two positions that translate the best, whereas defensive line is the position I think that actually translates the least, right? Because you height, weight, speed, and you need to be going against players that are as strong or stronger than you to show that you know how to play defensive line properly. But Drew, who's the next small school player that you want to bring to everybody's attention?
I don't know necessarily if I'd consider this a small school, but for football, they're not known for at all. They're having a surprisingly good season for them, and that's UConn wide receiver Skylar Bell. He's one that you're not going to hear a lot of people talk about UConn football. That is extremely rare. They had a tackle last year, and that's about as much as they've had in a while. But Skylar Bell, to me, while watching him, he's really an all-around receiver. He can give you contested catch ability. He can give you yards after catch. He's a good route runner. I mean, he's not the biggest. He's only about 6'1", 190. But he's got some of the most impressive body control, concentration to go up and get it. Against Syracuse, it's the late fourth quarter, 4th and 10. Game on the line. He has a one-handed catch despite contact that he brings in, keeps him in that game, sends it to overtime. And like plays like that, they just get you keen in on the player and really like interested. He's a formidable blocker. He takes snaps everywhere. On the outside, the slot, he's taken snaps in the backfield before. He'll play everywhere. Some of the bad things, he's got good athleticism. I think he'll run high 4.4s, low 4.5s. So nothing blazing or elite. Then I also think he doesn't have that A-list skill, which now in the NFL for a receiver, you don't have to. You don't have to have that 4.3, 4.2, 40-yard dash. You don't have to have that 6'3" contested catches, throw it up to get a guy. He's just good at everything, and he'll be able to contribute to a team.
So, Chris, where are you on Skylar Bell?
I like the player for what he brings. I mean, you look at him and by the way, credit to Sam Teets because he's been on the ball with Bell for almost over a year. So I cannot take credit for this. But you look and he generates natural separation. He's an excellent creative route runner. We've seen him line up in the backfield. UConn uses him in almost every role imaginable. Cornerback's going to struggle at times to match his quickness and athleticism in terms of his hip movement, shake and bake, route fakes, everything like that. He is a dynamic runner. It's the speed and size that worries me in terms of how teams look at him. It's like, yeah, but he's not an elite, burst. He's not going to, outrun cornerbacks. Yeah, but he's not 6'2", 6'3". He's Kendrick Bourne. And there's going to be some OCs who love that because they're going to go, all right, perfect slot receiver. We can use him. I just think he's going to fall in this draft like the 5th or 6th round because it's just there's going to be so many wide receivers sort of like him. Like guys like Casey Concepcion in Texas A&M. And so now it's like, okay, well, how do you rate them? Do you give Concepcion more of an advantage because he's playing in the SEC? How about Eric McAllister? He's doing the same thing, and he's over in the Big 12. I think that would hurt small schools, especially like Bell. It's like, okay, Syracuse is nice, but have you done this against other people? Again, I like the player. I just think too many teams are going to just either nitpick and go, not enough speed, not enough size, and they'll drop them on their draft boards.
Well, I'm okay taking a player like that in rounds 5, 6, or 7. Absolutely. Like, you don't need – to me, if you're if you're any player, really, if my team takes you in round 5, I'm happy. I mean, Buffalo drafted Christian Benford in round 6, and he started over a player at the same position that they drafted in round 1. So The goal is to get in the building. Once you're in the building, it doesn't matter what round you were drafted. The goal is to get in the building. So,
I think the combine for Skylar Bell will be very important because I was looking him up, watching film, and one of the stuff I saw was it was from The Athletic that posted an article about him when he was a redshirt freshman at Wisconsin, and it was basically a high school. His high school coach was quoted in it and saying he runs like a 4.4 flat or something like that in high school. If he can get around that 4 flat range, I think he's going to be a lot more enticing, even under that. I think that'll instantly raise his stock because, as Chris was saying, that speed is going to be a major concern for him. So if he can answer those questions, it's going to go miles into his evaluation.
I'll also add that I think it'll help him. Like he'll benefit from the north south, the Shrine, east west, the Hawaii Bowl. One of those games where you're seeing him get with a real quarterback, not with UConn's quarterbacks, which aren't that good. You'll see him go against cornerbacks who are pretty good. And if he can wow some scouts, they'll look and go, okay, your production's not great because we get it. You were in a bad system. You had a bad quarterback. And right now, those 11.7 yards down from 17.2, that's not your fault. That was – you're working with less than what other wide receivers have.
I mean, those games are going to be so important for every prospect we're talking about. Cole Payton, if he goes to the Panini Senior Bowl, that is going to be his most important event. And for most of these players, whether it's the East-West Shrine Bowl, the American Bowl, anything like that, is going to be so important for them.
So Ryan's got a couple there.
I was reading that.
So it's good to see you stop by, Ryan. Thank you very much. Chris, do you have another small school guy that you want to bring to everybody's attention?
Yes. One of my favorites, Red Murdoch, Buffalo Bulls linebacker, tackling machine. I mean, I look at this guy, and he stood out in last year's Bahamas Bowl where he was the MVP, 13 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, an interception for a touchdown return. I mean, he is the epitome of a middle linebacker. He is smart. He diagnoses plays very quickly. Excellent run stuffer. He had an 83.1 PFF grade last year against a run. He was he wraps up the tackle, the ball carrier when he gets it. He doesn't drag him down. He hits him violently. And every year he's just making tackles. Last year he had 156 tackles, 73 solo, 83 assisted. This year, 70 already, 26 solo. He is a playmaker in terms of forcing fumbles, interceptions. It's the height and the size what worries me. And I've seen listed as ESPN says, he's 6'3". I've seen most places where he's 6'1", 235. I mean, and he's a middle linebacker. And the NFL, unfortunately, just looks at middle linebackers and goes, we can use a safety instead. I think what helps will be the Minnesota game where teams look at that tape, and he was just all over the damn place. It was a 23-10 loss, but he was the story. 16 tackles, 5 solo, a sack. I mean, this is a game where he can put the tape on and go, look, I can handle myself against Big Ten, teams. I can handle myself against 320-pound guards. I know how to get to the ball carried. I can basically be that guy like a Malcolm Rodriguez who, I know I'm undersized, but damn it, I'm going to make plays. And defensive coordinators can trust me to make the plays and make the calls.
So, Drew, where are you on Red Murdoch?
I mean, I don't mind having a little bit smaller for linebacker. If they can show they can defend against the run and take on blocks and do all of that. But I do love the playmaking aspect that you get from Red Murdoch. He's just those players that always have a knack for being around the ball will always have a spot on the roster if I was the GM. You just want to see them go to the ball, make plays, force fumbles, bring the man down, and it's exactly what he'll give you. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions during the pre-draft process about his size. But if he can show that he's strong enough, as Chris was saying, the Minnesota game is going to go miles for him on showing what he can do. But if he can just prove that he's still strong enough, he can take on blocks and all that, I think he's going to be a great player in the NFL.
Yep. So I have to give our standard UB disclaimer. There is a draft professor that was a scout at the University of Buffalo. So there's definitely a bias, and that is the Division I school that is closest to where I grew up. So the University of Buffalo has put Joe Andreessen in the draft, followed by Sean Dolak didn't get drafted, but he's now I believe he has a special teams role on the Rams 53. So he's dressing for the Rams. I do not believe he is starting. But then, so we're my Red Murdoch story. So, we're organizing all the positions so that we know, like, okay, who are the 24 linebackers that the draft professors will podcast on? And a lot of the names we all know, CJ Allen and stuff like that. I threw Red Murdoch in there, and one of the podcasters, who will remain nameless, said, well, unless he's like an amped up version of Sean Dolak, I don't want to be talking about a UB linebacker on a podcast. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I said, based upon what everybody at the draft professors has said about Red Murdoch, it's worth covering him on the podcast. So I believe he has made the final cut of 24. I always leave it up to that group to veto the players. That group includes Anthony Russo, Sam Teets, and James Foster. They are welcome to veto the player list that I give them, as is any draft professor, when we start breaking them down. But I'm looking forward to hearing, like, specifically like somebody like James Foster or Sam Teets, what they think of Red Murdoch, because, they're definitely looking for NFL traits and competition level. And linebacker, my opinion is that at linebacker, competition level does matter. But to your point, both of you, if you dominate at the lower level of competition, that's what we want to see when you move up to a higher level. So, Drew, do you have another small school player you'd like to share?
Let me pull up my scouting. I'll do Caden Barnett, the guard from Wyoming. So, I mean, the Wyoming, it's just another example of a team that I don't know if I'd consider them small after talking about North Dakota State. We'll bring up probably Youngstown State later. But he's another player who, on that Wyoming team, is really shining out. He's got great size for a guard, 6'5", 320 pounds. And so far this year, he's been great. I mean, PFF has charted him, hasn't allowed a sack, has only allowed 4 total pressures this year for the Cowboys. And his grades, I mean, you can take PFF grades they're very hit or miss, but they can give you a good indication a majority of the time on how well a player is playing. And they have him graded pass blocking amazing, 80.4. Run blocking can improve 68.2. But he's not a finished product at all. Coming from Wyoming, you're going to need to see a lot of development from him. But a team is going to like a lot of the traits that they say with him, and they're going to take a shot on him, whether it's a late round pick. But I do think with the strength he's got, some of the pass blocking skills that he's shown on film, I do think he could be a good player in the NFL if he can just kind of develop more, just what he needs.
Chris, do you have anything on that player?
This is one of the toughest players you'll see in the draft. He played through torn labrums in both shoulders for the last 2 seasons. So you look at that, and teams are going to go, you know what? We're not worried about at least the mental aspect. He's a team leader, nasty disposition. He likes to attack people. He's he's a pretty decent run blocker. The questions are always going to be, the pass blocking needs work. Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? We're not sure. He's played both, but you got to figure out, as a guard, he's small. He's, 305. So I know when Drew and I were talking about centers with Kansas and Missouri, as Drew said, I want a big center guard who's a mean mauler. Smaller guys gonna have trouble against bigger tackles. As an offensive tackle, is he quick enough? So, I mean, look, there's a place for him. He is a stash guy where you can draft him probably 5th, 6th, 7th round. You stash him. He's the developmental guy, but you love him because he's versatile. There's a toughness. He has talent, and he's played in Wyoming, so he can handle a lot of things. Again, he'll need work, but he's that diamond in the rough. An offensive. Like the Eagles will look and go, this could be Jordan, Matalata, 2.0.
And Drew, do you have anything on him?
Oh,
you already did.
Nothing more
Yeah, I
to say,
always forget who goes first. So, Chris, do you have another player?
Yes, I'm going with – I can't believe I'm doing this here. Jaden Craig of Harvard. And, yes, I already know there's going to be a lot of a draft professors going, oh, wait a minute here. You're crapping on, Cole Payton, but Jaden Craig you're giving love to. What's going on, huh? Look, anytime you have a quarterback from Harvard, you know they're going to be damn smart. This is a guy who has experience. He's been playing in the Ivy League as a starter since 2023. His last 2 seasons, he has a combined 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's a pure pocket passer. He doesn't look to run. He looks to pass. And a lot of the games, when he rolls out, it's like, all right, I need more time, and I gotta make the pass. I never see, in his games against, Brown, Holy Cross, and Cornell, there were never times I looked and went, he's just chucking it for the sake of chucking it. He's looking down the field. He has an NFL caliber arm, not a great arm, but a good arm. And he's a quarterback. He is a pure passing quarterback. So if you are, teams like the Shanahan, Stefanski, McVay, you look at this guy and go, I don't have to worry about teaching him all this stuff. I don't have to worry about, having him work on his footwork. He has that. It's more going to be, is he athletic enough? Does he have a cannon arm, or does he have a good arm like a Mac Jones? And again, the competition is always going to be a concern. Like, all right, Ivy League. Where the hell are you playing in the Ivy League? That's going to be an elite athlete. But I think he's going to be coming up on the board pretty fast, because you already hear, Mel Kiper and even CBS going, hey, keep an eye on this guy. He could be a sleeper. So, again, Jaden Craig is a guy I'd watch for. He might be one of those guys who gets drafted in the 5th, 4th round, because some team will go, he can be our long-term prospect quarterback, and we at least know he's smart enough to read the entire playbook and get it in the first try.
And Drew, do you have anything on him?
I watched. So I was looking once a Senior Bowl released its top 300 list. I saw a quarterback from Harvard on it, and I was like, okay, what is this guy's game? So I went to try to find film, couldn't. So I was just looking up him on YouTube, and this guy is fun. Like, all the concerns Chris said are extremely valid. He still does need to improve a lot, but you'll watch this guy and you'll just think, wow, if he can develop, he can really be something. Because yes, it's Harvard. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not high tier competition. The cornerbacks there aren't amazing. They're great, but they're not up to the Tennessee level with Jermod McCoy, Colton Hood. But he makes plays and he's a playmaker. I could 100% see a team falling in love with that, taking him as a late round pick and stashing him for a couple of years and just hoping he develops.
So, yeah, and Harvard has put one quarterback into the NFL already. I even have a few T-shirts with that quarterback's, face on it. So,
hey, Buffalo legend, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Shout out.
And I think, how do I want to say this? So, there's a couple things about Ryan Fitzpatrick that I really appreciate. So, first of all, he's a really good media personality. So, right, because he does Amazon now, right? If memory serves me correctly.
Yes,
so
he's on Amazon.
Yeah. So, I just like watching him on Amazon. He has relative. He has intelligent takes. He went to Harvard, right? Like, his takes are intelligent, right? And I should say relatively because his counterparts in the media don't rise to his level. But going back to Ryan Fitzpatrick's playing days, what impressed me is that he's the prototypical NFL journeyman, right? Because I think Ryan Fitzpatrick played for somewhere between 8 to 10 teams over like 16 seasons. Where he was with the Rams, the Bengals, then the Bills. He was only with the Bills for like 2 or 3 seasons, right? And then Titans and then Dolphins. And I don't know, did he play for the Jets at one point? I don't even remember.
Played for so many teams.
Yeah. But he could go into a new situation and he had it mastered. Right? Like he didn't need a year to learn an offense. He goes in, he figures it out, and he can go out there week 1 and execute it. There's something to be said for that because not everybody can do that. Even Ben Roethlisberger, when he got a new offensive coordinator, there were comments where it was like, well, that was year 1 of that offense. Quarterbacks always do better in year 2 with that offensive coordinator. And I'm like, that sounds like a cop-out to answer to me. But who's got the next player that we want to go to?
I'll let you do it, Chris. You've got a couple more, I know.
So I'm going with wide receiver Max Tomczak from Youngstown State. He's popped on several draft boards. I watch him and I look at a wide receiver who he's a lot, as we mentioned with Skylar Bell, he's the same way. He has good speed. He can get away from defenders, not great speed, solid, hands, good route runner, and he's fearless. I saw him on plays where he would catch the ball and he knew that to get that extra yard, he'd have to take a hit, and he'll just lower his shoulder and go, all right, let's do it. He finds ways to get open. He's smart enough to know, like, all right, this is where if they're playing zone, this is where the pocket is. He had a pretty good game against Michigan State this year. 7 catches for 78 yards, including I believe a 25-yard scamper, a catch and run. It's like every wide receiver, but in terms of, is he that good enough to handle bigger wide receivers? He's a little bit smaller. He's not the physical guy. So it's like, all right, what happens on bump and runs? It's Youngstown State, which is always the worry because, all right, well, how good of competition are you here? But again, he plays football. He's a 6 foot, 195-pound wide receiver who last year 73 catches for 904 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's a late round pick, but like a lot of these late round wide receivers, like an Edelman, like even Efren Chisholm or the dream guy, which is Puka Nacua, you just look and go, well, he can catch the ball. He knows how to get open. As long as he can do that, we will find a way for you in the NFL. And he was named on the 2026 Panini Senior Bowl 300 list. So you already know that scouts are starting to take notice of him and go, ooh, we got to keep an eye on this kid.
And Drew, did you have anything on him or no?
I mean, you said a lot of it. He's going to be a late round pick. A team's going to take a flyer on him, maybe in the 7th round. But I just really need to see kind of that physicality improve before I start projecting him or going a lot more on him.
And then, Chris, did you have another?
Yeah, the last guy, and I feel bad because he's not really a small school because, it's like Toledo, but the guy that a lot of people love is Emmanuel McNeil Warren. This guy, if you don't hear of him, I get it because, well, it's Toledo, but he's been he's tall, he's 6'2", 202 pounds. He's lined up as a strong safety, as a free safety. Now, he hits hard. He is a guy who also forces fumbles. He had 8 forced fumbles in 2023, 2024. A lot of people are starting to take notice, and he's been on several boards of like top 100, top 50 defensive players. This year alone, so far, 20 solo tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception. He's been used as a blitzer. He's been used as freelance guy. He's one of those guys that you don't know because unfortunately he's in Toledo. But I watched the Kentucky game and this guy was all over the damn place. 11 total tackles, 8 solo, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. Like this, when you see this guy in the field, you notice, okay, this guy he is a demon. He's going to be the guy that once he gets to the scouting combine bowls, once again, the East Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, that's when you'll start to get more of a real sense of how high he's going to go. Because to me, he fits. He is the guy that just slipped through the cracks. But when teams get a look at him, they're going to look and go, yeah, this guy is a diamond in the rough. He is probably going to go probably 4th round or 5th round because safeties are always pushed down. But you're going to get a player with this guy.
Okay. Well, Drew, do you have any more
I do.
players?
I'll say a little bit on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren because I do really like him. I love how versatile. I love how hard-hitting. But I really wanted to say is we need to put more respect on Toledo as a potential school for the NFL draft. I mean, it's been a lot of recent years. Darius Alexander, Quinyon Mitchell, and then they had Dejuan Johnson, Tyson Anderson, Samuel Womack, who aren't huge players, but still drafted in recent years, all on defense. They are constantly producing, whether it's defensive talent, some offensive talent. They're starting to be a really good school, and they're going to produce another one. You said 5th round for Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks into day 2 as like a 3rd round pick when all said and done. I really like his game, and I think he's going to continue to rise through this draft cycle. Excited to see him.
So we are doing a detailed breakdown on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren tomorrow night. So Owen and Jake are breaking down 8 safeties. He's one of the 8. So first of all, Chris, I will defend Mac. I believe would be considered small school, right? Because if Red Murdoch at Buffalo is a small school, Buffalo and Toledo are in the same conference. They play each other every year in league play, right? Like that's small school. So you don't have to pre-qualify that. I would say Toledo is a small school. They're definitely one of the better schools in that conference. They've put players into the last 2 NFL drafts.
Last 3, I think. Last 4.
Did they have somebody go before?
2023 was a 7th round pick, like insane, like 259th overall.
Got it.
2022, they had 2 5th round picks. It's like very late in 2023 and 2022, but technically they
wasn't Quinyon Mitchell.
He was first round 2024.
Oh, that was 24. Okay.
And then Darius Alexander was 3rd round this year.
Yep. So
I had to look that up to make sure.
Well, I appreciate you fact checking me because I can just talk out of my rear sometimes. But definitely have to give props to Toledo. I know that Owen over the summer did a Mac podcast, and he found maybe 15 players in the Mac, and I think we just talked about 2 or 3 of them on this podcast. So, kind of thing. So from that standpoint, that works. Why don't we pause for podcaster identification? Drew, do you want to let everybody know who you are and all the other content that you make?
Yeah, I'm Drew Collings. I'm a sophomore at the University of Kansas right now. I'm a writer on a Saints site, whodatdish.com. I also have a Saints podcast called The Dome Discussions, and excited to be able to be on here, talk some NFL draft more often.
Chris.
You can check me out at thelastcallpodcast.com. I'm also on the YouTube channel and on Rumble. I'm also it's on twitter.com/lastcallwchrisc. I am on Facebook as well. We talk MMA, we talk boxing, we talk football. And this week it's going to be me and Nino Brown talking about the firing of James Franklin, what's going on, who might be even his new coach, what's going on with Belichick, and our thoughts now on the Heisman Award and who's starting to separate themselves as top contenders.
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, I appreciate your podcast. I know so many draft professors have guest appeared in your podcast, so it's awesome that you can get others in the community involved. So that's recognized and appreciated by me. Welcome to the Draft Professors, everybody. If this is your first podcast that you have seen with us, we are here every day at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. This podcast, starting next week, will be breaking down the offensive line class. That podcast will be Owen with special guest Jerry Ostrowski. Jerry is a retired NFL offensive lineman. He has started games at right tackle, left guard, and center in the National Football League. And he knows how to, I think his quote was, I know how to evaluate talent, but I don't know how to grade yet. So him and Owen are going to go back and forth on 8 offensive linemen. Owen will give his grade. Jerry will give his evaluation. And if you haven't, if you're a Bills fan, we watch Jerry on several Buffalo Bills podcasts, but Jerry is a pretty down-to-earth gentleman. And I grew up watching Jerry play. He was an offensive lineman on some of the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl teams. So and he replaced Jim Richer in the starting lineup. I remember seeing the name back of his jersey kind of thing. So really cool for Jerry to come on the station. That's what we're doing Tuesday night starting next week. But every podcast, Mondays, we're breaking down quarterbacks, then defensive line. Tuesdays, wide receiver, then offensive line. Wednesdays, corners, then defensive line. Thursdays, safeties, then running backs. Fridays, tight ends, then corners. And then when we finish tight ends, that's going to roll over to linebackers. James Foster will be a special guest coming on to evaluate linebackers with us. So definitely looking forward to that. Fridays at 7 starting in November after Halloween. But every single day of the week, we are breaking down players in the NFL draft. This podcast expects to cover every player drafted in rounds 1 through 5. That's the goal. We're not always going to hit it. But even last year, Ruben Hippolyte, the linebacker from Maryland, we covered him on a podcast last year. Everybody's like, who is he? He wasn't that high on my board. But we podcasted on 30 linebackers last year, and he was one of the 30. So that worked. But anyway, that's kind of what we do here at the Draft Professor. For me, this is the best time of year because we're talking about every player individually. That's ultimately the goal. Let's not talk about where they are on a big board. Let's just talk about the player and what they bring to the organization which drafts them. So for Drew, Chris, myself, for the 100 plus podcasters at the Draft Professor, thank you for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you on a podcast again tomorrow.